Hello everybody. So this is going to be an impromptu video. It's been a very long time since I've actually sat down and went through some kind of broad topic. And as you can see, you could probably tell my voice has changed a little bit in the sense of, I guess you could say tone. So the tone has changed a little bit. Partially it's sickness, but I'll go over the other reason why it is. But today I wanted to focus on the concept of budgeting or the importance of budgeting. So the idea is that you go through your life and hopefully you have an income, and you basically, based off of your spending and based off of things that are going on, you have a certain cash flow on an individual basis, and that may be fake or may be true in the sense that if it was a cash flow and it said you you netted negative $110 a month, or maybe you actually you might have netted negative $10,000 per day on a particular day, and then I don't know. Well, I guess that wouldn't make sense because you have to. There's too many days, or there's too little days in a year to get down to 110 as an average. But anyway, you see my point, right? You could spend too much on one day, and then it kind of just, the average just totally doesn't really apply to you. So there's thus no cash flow that's representative of you, who you are. But anyway, and then so that would be fake. But but assuming that there are certain things that you can manipulate about your spending and your cash, you basically that would reflect your cash flow, or just anything else really that might be the opposite, which is to gain money. Assuming that there are things that you can manipulate, budgeting is a good idea to really figure out what, I mean, is really a good activity. So I've been technically budgeting since I was trying to find a job in 2016, and even back then, I wanted to at least have some data for me to move forward with, because everybody could say that you got to save and stuff like that, and basically force you to try to change, but in reality they may not look at the numbers and realize that what they're saying, or even yourself, you might force yourself to change a certain way, but you may not be able to. If you looked at the data, it may not be doable, and a lot of stuff a lot of stuff that you try to put yourself through are just not achievable. So what budgeting really helps with, allowing yourself to achieve certain goals for yourself, and it puts a lot of mental, it allows you to clear your head, that you would normally worry about things, because a lot of things do depend upon your, how much money you can generate, or um, it also unconsciously you're thinking about whether or not decisions you're making are going to negatively influence how you behave in the future. So that's all tied financially, because obviously the excess of wretched excess, if you want to call it that, will cause you to excessively lose money. So basically, with budgeting, you well, what I like to do is I like to put things into categories, and assign each individual cost that I did throughout the previous year, or maybe previous month, or the month. Ideally, it would be for the month, and put it in a category that makes sense to me, that I can see, that I can visualize. And actually, what happened is, this year, for 2022, I did everything for each month. I put it into different categories. One, I have groceries, transportation, and by the way, if you have any recommendations for categories that are simpler than what I have, please feel free to give your 2 cents, because I got my ideas. They came to me when I read Tony Robbins' Money Master the Game, which was actually a lot more helpful than you might think. At first, I mean, if you already know, I mean, he presents a lot of basic financial ideas, but so if you already understand how all that works, it's not really a useful book in my opinion. But I put things into categories, like I said, groceries is one. I put transportation, which includes like all the gas and like tolls and stuff like that, which is not really much here. But see, I have something called random. Random is it might be too random for you, but for me, I can see it as random. So random to me just means operating costs basically, and then I have food, which is wait, yeah, I have food, which means it's what I spend on food, like eating out or or something like that, and then I have something called vitality spending. Vitality means basically booze money, anything to do with like novelties or just anything that where it's like it kind of satisfies a urge that is kind of like it's part of this deadly sins, I guess you could say, or maybe it's like doing something that you really has nothing to do with the need or anything like that, but you just want to do it because you want to. I want to give some examples, like you might pay for a spa or something like, or a massage or something like that, which I've never done before, but like another example of that wouldn't necessarily be. Oh, I also have a coffee and tea category, because that in itself is important. Like I get so much coffee, it's just you don't even want to know. But and I think a lot of people do too. It's like its own category. But that's just me. So, but what was I gonna say? So yeah, as I was saying about the vitality spending, it's not anything like coffee or anything like that, but I mean maybe I should just call it a booze bank or something like that, because it has something to do with booze, cigars, anything like that, or like I said, a massage maybe, or just I wouldn't say like a concert tickets, because that would fall under random. Anyway, so you get my point. So it's like all of that, but what I realized, like for example, I can give you a testament as to what how it would help. So that I did it for 2022, and during my two week vacation, and I did it for each month, and I realized that my problem last year, like one thing I could manipulate was simply to stay home longer. It's like I didn't realize just how simple it was. It's like, well, why do I have this mentality, I think, throughout every week, that somehow I have to do something on Friday night, or somehow for some reason I have to do something for the weekend. So I have in my mind that I'm going to go drive far away places, or like somewhere far away, just because I have to do something for that weekend. So it made me realize that no, that's not really true. It's just an additional expense that really doesn't really need to happen. Um, and why I say that is because I was doing it too often. So instead of going, like, I was going on my hikes every weekend, almost every weekend, for like the first 3-4 months of the year, and my gas was like 700 per month. Like it was adding up. And but even though the gas prices were increasing, that was what I averaged, and that was pretty high. So I just stay home. It just makes sense. So for me personally, though, like my my expenses are very, very simple. I can see other people having more difficult time, especially if you have a child, or if you have to take care of some other people. I just have me and my girlfriend. That's really that simple, and she doesn't really require a lot, which I'm happy about. And to be honest, I was really adamant about finding somebody who was not going to be too expensive. In fact, I when I was dating, it was like, as soon as she was asking for too much, I'm like, no, I'm not going to see her again. This is the last time. but maybe that's just me being cheap. Another thing got me to realize is that I tip too much. Like, you know, it's one thing if your finances were really like top notch to go ahead and tip, but nobody's gonna look at your numbers. Nobody's gonna know. The only reason why I started tipping was because my girlfriend kept influencing me to do that, and I started realizing it. And I said, you know what, just stop doing it. Like, I don't care how much people think you're an asshole. If you continue to tip, that's like just giving. That's just like adding on to everything else, and that's influencing you to spend money where it shouldn't. You shouldn't be reinforcing yourself to do that. And the idea of tipping is that you're reinforcing yourself to go to the same type of location, and in your mind you're thinking that yes, that's what you need to be doing, because that's what you want to do as a human being. You want to go out. You want to have good times, good experiences. But if you have to have a good budget, because depending upon your goals, you should not reinforce yourself to do that. I think you need to really cut back, and so that means don't tip. And if somebody wants to call you out on it, I wants to call me out on it, I actually would tell them feel free to, because that reinforces me to avoid going out, to these places, or I should say, it puts pressure on me to try to be careful about trying to do it as frequently as I would have otherwise. So basically, that's another thing I'm going to stop doing in 2023 is tipping so much. I mean, maybe every once in a while, but certainly not every event. If somebody's holding this freaking this device, this iPad, asking you to, this is a Family Guy joke, asking you 10% or whatever, you're just like, no, I'm not gonna. What are you trying to? What do you think I am, like an ATM? No. And so that's what I realized is very important when I was going through my own budgeting, and so that should really save a lot of money, to be honest. After I was looking through my expenses, so but the other thing that it really does, I mean, other than like making you conscious of what's going on in your own behavior, what it does is it allows you to put a cap on certain expenses on a periodic basis. So, for example, with me, I have certain goals for how much I need to spend for each category per month, and so now what I'm doing is I'm actually being cumulative with so I'm using Excel for all this. If you want, I can give you a template, because I created it myself, and this is based off of, I started doing this in 2000, using these categories and stuff like that in 2016, allowed me to invest in a house or a condo, in which now my net worth, dare I say, is 200,000. So go figure. I mean, not 200,000, more like 150,000. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm being facetious, but oops, sorry. But it's but you get the point, right? It's a large money. It's over 100,000. Let's just put it that way. But if I didn't go through this budgeting process, who knows what kinds of decisions I would have made that would have thwarted my net worth growth. So that's another good thing about this. But anyway, I wanted to I wanted to say that because budgeting is very important, and it's certainly going to help me for this year, and I hope it will help you, and I can help you if I hope I can help you if that means I can provide the Excel sheet. But what else do I want to say? So that's right. Going back to the concept of putting caps on everything, right? So I'm putting a cap on each category, and what I'm doing now is I'm actually being cumulative. So now I'm intentionally creating the spreadsheet for the month before the month ends, so I know where I'm at for that month, like for every week. So I think right now I'm doing okay. I'm not. Maybe I'm at like 80% for certain categories of capacity of where I want to be, and but that's fine because I'm at least conscious of what's going on and where I'm headed. So um, I want to say that some people can be more or less conscientious or rigid about the process because maybe they can afford to. So for me, for example, my income, like my goal is to pay off my condo in 2 years, like 2 to 3 years, and that's actually very doable. Um, I owe 95,000 on it, and I won't tell you how much I make, but I'm almost at the six-figure mark, right? But very close, somewhere around 95,000, right? So about the same. So a year, 95,000 a year. I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but um, it's high enough where it's like, okay, maybe where I can actually look at the numbers and be very methodical about what I need to do to just go ahead and pay off that that mortgage. And so for me, that's my goal. And for me, it really matters a lot. So if I whittle down whatever I can, that's what matters. And if, and it seems like I have to do this obsessively, but if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do. Um, but another thing that they say, I mean, no matter how much budgeting you do, what one of the secret, I want to say, secret remedies for any problems that you would have financially is obviously, which is not obvious, but obviously getting a higher paying job. That's better than anything you could do on the front end consciously. Um, in most cases, I would say, but for me, I have to stick with this job for until May if I wanted to switch, due to the bonus that I got, but and other reasons, I guess. But I don't, to be honest, I don't really want to switch companies. This is working out pretty well for me, but that goes back to my original, what I was saying in the beginning, which is that my tone of voice has also changed, not because I was sick, but because of the effect the management that's at my company has had on my psychology. In my opinion, it's not that great. Now, I don't have to let it get to me, but in a sense, there's certain things that you can't control about that. So, before, when I had my previous manager, my previous type of employment, um, when we would talk, it would kind of induce a sense of power, uh, and so maybe that was facetious in the sense of perhaps that was not actually true, and that shouldn't have been done. But it certainly gave me confidence enough to do a shit ton of stuff, and that also projected into I shouldn't say shit ton, but a profuse amount, and that also reflected in my voice in the sense of I was able to project myself real good, and everything. So with this new job and new procedures and stuff like that, it puts me in this position where I feel smaller, you know. So it just doesn't seem as significant as before. But again, I'm not. If I look at the numbers, things are much better now. So regardless of how I am right now or what you hear or whatever, I prefer to be in this mode because it's better financially. It's better in terms of getting to where I want to be. So, but who knows? Because what I'm doing right now is is a very small fraction of what I was doing before, and it's it's quite boring at times. I want to say that it's more frustrating. It's frustrating in the sense of like company wise, because how do I say this? It's you always have to worry about what you say or what it's gonna the impact something that you are about is going to have on the company and stuff like that. And because because there's hundreds of people involved in the company, at least hundreds of people, and if there's like a chain reaction about you in a negative sense, then it just has a complete influence on where you how you get promoted and how you stand in the company, and that's not good. So it's because how I'll put this. Because give reviews and stuff like that, and a lot of times it's very biased. So you have to constantly make sure that you're on their good side, and that you're I constantly have to make sure that I'm on that that growth state, instead of looking like I'm just trying to take and not give, and that's just not what I'm trying to do. Um, but sometimes it's hard to communicate that. Anyway, but we were talking about budgeting. With budgeting, of course, you can weather. That's another thing I wanted to go over, is that if you do good budgeting, you can weather through so much stuff. Like, you can be making $1 million, you can be making $1 billion. If you're good at budgeting, you can, well, I mean, I should say that's not so true. I mean, at that point, the budgeting should be done by a professional. But I should say, between making, $12,000 a year, and I should say like probably $200,000 to $300,000 a year, you can weather through a lot of issues that are happening, and you can look at what you could do to really change it. And what a lot of times what that can do that can really make you realize that you have to make extremely cold, hard decisions that you just never thought you would have to do. So, for example, I would say that you may have to sell your house. You might have to sell your house. You may have to, dare I say, put your kid up for adoption. I wouldn't want to go that far, but something where you realize that it's too much of a burden cost on you, because you would just not, if you continue doing that, it's going to destroy you. So I wouldn't say kid, I wouldn't say the adoption part, but like it could also have to do something with a partner too. Maybe you have an expensive relationship or something, I don't know. But there's things that you got to do that might be difficult in terms of decision making, that kind of empowers you to make them, and because it allows you to see that you do have to make those decisions. So for me, it's not really that big of a deal, because I'm only making so much, and again, it's just me and my girlfriend. But and in the situation we're in, I'm just paying this off. It's not very much money compared to other obligations that someone might have. But I could see people sitting down and realizing what they a bunch of crazy stuff that they have to do that they never would have thought. They were just like, this is crazy. Anyways, I just wanted to go over that a little bit, and maybe hopefully one of these days. I'm still studying for surveying. In fact, I got this page open for from this Mansour surveying manual. I don't know if you're interested in seeing, but yeah, I've been studying this, and it's been pretty easy so far, but it just takes time, because I've never taken a survey course, and I'm also studying the Heiner, which obviously I know a lot of this already. I'm just going through it anyway. And I got my ASCE here that I'm using as a supplement to that. So eventually I'll be ready to take those exams, and I'll just knock it out. But right now, I'm starting to realize there's a lot of weaknesses for surveying because I don't know hardly know anything about it. But I could do the calculations because of the 8 hour. I basically over prepared for that in terms of the survey. So for the most part, I'm able to get it, but we'll see how things go. I'll probably take it in about 3 months, at least the survey one, and then the seismic one maybe another month. I'm not sure yet. But anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Oh, by the way, I also have some videos on me playing saxophone, and the reason why I've been posting it is because that's a hobby that I've picked up, and it's actually been very helpful for me. I was able to budget for that. Well, I didn't actually budget for it, but I was able to afford it. So at the time, so it was $2,000. I figured that I got to a point where I was spending a lot of my money on things like renovations, and all that stuff was already almost done. So I just figured I would buy it and start playing and finally finding some entertainment in life. Anyways, thanks for watching.